Hey guys, it is me, Jacqueline. For today's video, I have my January wrap-up and my February TBR for 2017. Of course, we will be starting off my January wrap-up, and this month I read 16 books, which I am very proud of, but I will try to be as short and sweet as I can, just because I don't want this video to be 20 minutes long. I did do a bunch of video reviews for the books I read this month, which I will leave down below in the description box. Anyway, let's get on to my wrap up. The first book I read was Equal Parts, and this is by Emma Winters. One of you guys actually recommended this book to me, and so I decided to pick this up because it did sound very interesting. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I mean, it speaks volumes, the fact that I stayed up until 7 a.m. reading this book because I wanted to know what was going to happen next, but I did find certain elements to be underdeveloped, aka the world and the paranormal aspect. In total, I like this, I just didn't love it. I was hoping for a little bit more from it. The next book I read, I actually picked up randomly when I was browsing through NetGalley one day. I did get an e-arc in exchange for an honest review, and that is Thirst, and this is by Jacqueline Frank. I gave this book a 1.5 out of 5 stars. I found it was hard to really get into this novel and this book to really hold my attention. I did not like these characters. I didn't enjoy the interactions. Certain interactions actually made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Overall, this book just wasn't for me. Then I picked up The Hookup, and this is by Kristen Callahan. I was recommended this book a ton by you guys, and I found it to be okay, honestly. I just didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I would. This book does feature insta-love, and sometimes I don't mind that when it comes to novels, but in this case I found the initial attraction to be very instantaneous, and it just didn't really feel right with me. Also, the way this relationship develops, I wasn't really about. In general, I was hoping a little bit more from this book. I then picked up Frostblood by Ellie Blake. I received this book in exchange for an honest review through NetGalley, blah blah blah. I have a separate review video up on my channel that goes more in depth about my pros and cons for this book. I gave this book a 3.75 out of 5 stars. It is about elemental magic. There are people that are Frostbloods and people that are Firebloods. Even though I didn't love this book, I am still happy I decided to pick it up, and I am definitely looking forward to the sequel that is coming out later this year, just because I am intrigued over what we will be sort of seeing next with our characters and this world. Next, I have Roseblood, and this is by A.G. Howard. This is a modern-inspired retelling of the Phantom of the Opera. I was super excited to pick this up because I absolutely love the Phantom of the Opera. I gave this book a 4 to 5 stars. I did have some cons, but overall I really love this whole entire experience. This is the first book I ever read from A.G. Howard. I'm definitely looking forward to others just because I was just so pleasantly surprised by this book. I love the characters and the plot and the way we sort of follow along in this story. This was just a really great read for me. Continuing on, I have The Secret of a Heart Note by Stacey Lee. This is a YA contemporary with magical realism, and this was actually the first Stacey Lee book I've ever picked up, and I'm really happy I did because I am so looking forward to reading others by her since I really enjoyed this one. My favorite thing about this book was the magical realism involved in this story. Our main character is a aromature, and that is a person that has such a strong scent of smell that they can actually smell people's emotions. It was a lot of fun to read about. Definitely a quick and easy book to pick up. Next, I read Engaged to an Alien Pop Star, and this is by Kendra L. Saunders. This is the second book, a part of the Dating an Alien Pop Star series, which is a new adult science fiction series about aliens. It is just a ton of fun. I really enjoyed the first book, but I actually think I enjoyed the second book even more. If you're in a reading slump or just want something that's not really too hard to get into, I would definitely recommend these two books. I find this world and these characters to be highly entertaining, and I just fly through these books. A lot of fun. I then picked up Caraval, and this is by Stephanie Garber. This was one of my most anticipated book releases, and although there was a ton of hype surrounding this book, I have to say it was very well worth the hype for me. I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I loved the world and the Caraval aspect. I love getting to follow our characters through this story. I am looking forward to other books Stephanie Garber will be coming out with, including a sequel or a companion novel to this one, because literally I cannot get over the fact this was her debut novel because it was that fantastic in my opinion. I actually got to pick up another one of my most anticipated book releases, and that is The Edge of Everything by Jeff Giles. Sadly for me, this did fall flat, just because I was so excited for this book and it just didn't live up to my expectations. So although I did enjoy the essence of the story and what makes it sort of a fantasy novel, I found the characters I didn't love, and I also found specifically with the romance it was a little bit too insta-lovey for me. I actually got to pick up another one of my most anticipated book releases, which is Winter Song by S.J. Jones. I don't have a video review up right now. I will have one up on February 6th, just because this book comes out on February 7th and I wanted a video review to be up closer to the release date of this book. I was looking forward to this book just because I am a huge fan of the movie Labyrinth. But if you're expecting a book version of the movie, that is not what this is. This is an inspired retelling. So pretty much S.J. Jones takes the element of the Goblin Fire and runs with it with her own characters and plotline, blah blah blah. For me, I found the first half of this novel to be very strong and then the second half to be sort of lackluster. I will be sort of looking more into S.J. Jones' other books when she does come out with them, just because this is her debut novel and she is a beautiful writer, but I wasn't in love with this book like I thought I would be. I then picked up one of my favorite new adult books, and that is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and this is by Mariana Zapata. This book was fantastic. If you love slow burning romances, this is the book for you. I wasn't expecting to love this book as much as I did, but I will definitely be checking out more books from Mariana Zapata just because this book was so wonderful. I flew through it. I loved the characters and the interactions and how slowly yet surely we got to see this relationship build and grow. If you're looking for a slow burning romance, this is the one for you. I then picked up Quarter Mile Hearts, and this is by Jenny Sigil. I picked this up like a year ago, maybe even longer, for free on the iBooks app, and I finally actually got to it this month. This is another new adult romance novel. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 to 5 stars. I flew through it. I like these characters. It is one of those love-hate romances, which is personally one of my favorites. This book also features drag racing, which I really enjoyed sort of reading about that because I haven't actually read, at least I don't remember, any books that feature drag racing. The next 3 books I read during the Diversathon, which is a readathon in which you read more diverse books. I believe the host and the Twitter account for the Diversathon, I was planning on doing like a wrap-up video slash weekly vlog for it, but sadly I forgot to continually vlog, so I thought I could just mention it in this one. The first book I read for the Diversathon was 5 to 1, and this is by Holly Bodger. This is one of the most unique books I've ever read. It is a dystopian novel that takes place in the year 2054. This takes place in India, where for every girl there are exactly 5 boys. What made this book so different for me was the way it was actually told, because I wasn't expecting it to be written in prose and verse. And I don't know, I just really was pleasantly surprised overall by how much I was invested in this story. It flew by for me because it is such a short book and it is written in verses. So if you're looking for something just completely out of element, I would definitely recommend checking out this book. I can't believe it took me this long to read The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola. I read her debut novel, Everything Everything, when it first came out, and I loved it, but I actually loved this book even more. Nicola has such a fantastic way of getting you to become emotionally attached to the characters and the story she is telling. I love her writing, and I would highly recommend any of her books. I am definitely interested in seeing other works she will be coming out whenever she comes out with stuff in the future. The third book I wasn't expecting to include in my Diversathon wrap-up, but looking at it overall, it definitely had various diverse elements, and I thought they were actually very well done, and also was a little bit of a pleasant surprise because I wasn't expecting these diverse elements, and that book is Traveler, and this is by Ellie. This book comes out on February 7th. I am still debating on whether or not I want to do a separate video review for this book, but I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel. The ending left me wanting more. If you haven't heard of this book, it is about a girl who can actually travel to alternate dimensions. The final book I read this month was The Island of Exiles, and this is by Erica Cameron. I was super excited to pick up this book just because I was sent it in exchange for an honest review, but the summary sounded very intriguing. It is a YA fantasy novel that is coming out on February 14th. In this book, we follow our main character who lives on this island that is very deadly. Every day is a struggle to survive, and she is pretty much a kick-ass though. And she's a part of this clan that you have to obey, or else if you do disobey, you could lose your life over it. One thing happens and she actually has to leave the clan, which is an act of disobeyment, but her brother's life is at risk. So she has to go and find her brother and save her brother, and it is very action-packed, really fast-paced. I read this in like a day's time and I flew through it. There were certain things that I was hoping a little bit more from. I felt like when it came to the world and the world building, that was a little bit underdeveloped and left me a little bit more confused. This is one of the most unique books I've ever read though. I found the whole deadly island to be something very interesting, and it really kept me on my toes. I wanted to know what was going to happen next, so if this sounds like something you would enjoy, I would definitely recommend looking into it. So that was my January wrap up. Let's move on to my February TBR. So for this upcoming month, I am planning on reading at least these 5 books. The first book I have is actually the one I am currently reading, and that is Stay by A.L. Jackson. This is a new adult contemporary novel. I was sent this book in exchange for an honest review, which I am super excited to review. This is actually the 5th book, a part of the Bleeding Stars companion series. I read the 4th book last year. I really enjoyed it, so I'm definitely interested to see how I will find this one. This features different characters, and each book in this companion series can be read as a standalone. I am right now on page 37. I am enjoying it so far. I should actually have a review up hopefully by tomorrow. I am expecting to finish this either later tonight or early tomorrow morning. The next book I am planning on reading this month is The Dragon's Price, and this is by Bethany Wiggins. I got an e-arc through NetGalley, and this was one of my most anticipated book releases, so I definitely do want to read and review it since I have been looking forward to this book. Then I have Sad Perfect, which is by Stephanie Elliott. I am a part of the blog tour for this book, so I will be having my review up on February 26th. This book comes out on February 28th. This book is about a girl that has avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. This author actually wrote this based on her own daughter's personal experience with this disorder. I am looking forward to this and seeing how she handles this element, just because it is extremely personal to her and to her family. The next book I am planning on reading is Daughter of a Pirate King. This is by Tricia Levenseller. I did get an e-arc through NetGalley, and I am so excited to read this. This is like one of my top anticipated book releases. I love books that feature pirates, and this has been claimed to be like a YA heroine Jack Sparrow, so I am super hyped for this one. The final book I want to read during the month of February is A Crown of Wishes, and this is by Roshani Chokshi. This is the companion novel to one of my favorite books, which is A Star-Touched Queen. I cannot believe I have this in my possession. It actually doesn't come out until March 28th, but I do want to read it and get my thoughts out there, and then I will probably like reread it during the month of March so I can post a review video for you guys. But I just like can't believe I had this in my possession. I literally almost started to cry when I saw this in my mailbox. That's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below in the comment sections what you thought of the books I mentioned, or what books you read during the month of January and are planning on reading in the month of February. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!